Hey, this is Gene. Yesterday I did a very good, fun type video. Normally I talk about politics or issues for white advocacy. Can't really say that anymore, but you know. I also talked about a friend. I get a friend to the family who died of cancer, 50 years old, who was my trauma teacher that my kids used to work with quite a bit and was a good friend for my wife. Like I said in that video, it was very sad to see that happening. But I want to talk more about political stuff today. And in the background on my TV, you can see Tucker Carlson. And recently, he's trying that this unrest is basically not race at all; it's class struggles. And I just want to say to him and those who believe this, and a lot of it is true, that the people that are actually doing this stuff, I think they think it is a race war because they look at the economics situations and say the white people have more money than we do, and then it becomes not just a class issue, it becomes a race issue. And it's strange. A lot of people that are rioting happen to be white, and they hate themselves. They absolutely do. If you go on YouTube years ago, there were white people saying that white people have no culture. Uh, they have this white guilt that goes on. And I can tell you, all these people in Antifa or Black Lives Matter who happen to be white, they've been taught this idea that there is no heritage, there's no legacy for white people, that we have no culture. So they basically are railing against their own self, and it's an insidious type of plan that is happening to us. So the question is, does it really matter if it's race or class? They're still the same people that are driving this. The same people that do everything in the media, the same people that have influence in our elections, in government, in Hollywood, everywhere we go. They don't really care if it's whites and whites against blacks or blacks. They want that unrest to happen so they can still have more power. And you can see every now and then there's a little, they get worried about things, and all of a sudden the shit like happens. Now we can make this a very easy, overarching thing, like Candace Owens says that every 4 years that we have this. We have Black Lives Matter coming out. That it's only because of just the election that's coming up. And while that is a result of this, that they hope they can get more power because of this, this little thing has been seeping underneath the current for a long time. When you're in a white country in the West, and whether it's Europe and they're letting all the migrants come in who try to bring their culture in there and they don't want to assimilate, and they do things that are not considered Western, like raping kids, stuff like that. America's a little different, even though we have some Muslim people coming across and all that stuff. Our issue is that we have a lot of illegals that come from the third world, Mexico, Central America, stuff like that. Some of them try to assimilate. I mean, I see these people working. I know they're not legal. Certainly some of them are not legal. And for the most part, they seem to be okay people, but they do the same thing. Like everybody is tribal. Every people is tribal in some way. And the only people it really hasn't been is the last 100 years, white people. We've just basically said, I'll bring every culture into my my lands, and we'll share the bounty that we have. And we hoped that they would assimilate. And sometimes that they do. Certain groups of people do assimilate at a higher level than others. And that's not racist, and it's not anything. It's just when you look at the facts that Indian Americans tend to assimilate better. Asian Americans tend to assimilate better. But let me tell you something about Asians or Indians. They still have their own culture, and they support it, and they defend it. And they look at white people, and I can imagine that they're just laughing at us because we don't defend ourselves. And you see a lot of them come up to you and say, why aren't you doing something about this? You know, you're seeing what's happening in your country. You guys made this country. These are conversations I've had with Asian Americans and also Indian Americans that said, "You guys need to stand up," and I'm like, "We know when we do it, we're called racist." So they defend their culture and they go back to India. They go, if they're Asian, they go back to China, or they go to Japan or Thailand or whatever like that, and they continually have that culture that they have, and they have areas that are normally just for them. White people, when we do that, it becomes racist. That we're not being tolerable or tolerant to cultures. So they sit there and they lose respect for us. They believe in America and the American dream. You know, they think that I can go here, but now they see what's happening in this country is what happened in their countries, and they're upset. And they're a lot of ways they're going to vote for Trump because of this. But it just seems weird to me that nobody wants to say it's a race war, okay? Because most black people are not supporters of Black Lives Matter. If they understood what they were doing, most middle income black families that have a father in the home, that go to a real job, when they look at what they stand for, they will not support that, because in the black community, family is important, regardless of what the statistics say. And it's a very horrifying statistic that 75% of all birth is out of wedlock, and they have a rate of like 77% of single mothers. But those who are actually have a father and a mother in the home, they're very similar to their white counterparts. Now they still might vote way too much to the Democratic side, and I don't think that, to be honest, voting for Obama or voting for Clinton wasn't really that bad of a vote when you can compare who they were going against at that time. Romney didn't have anything that would have done anything for us, and as far as with McCain or I don't who did Clinton, Bush, the second Bush, or the first Bush. There's not a whole lot there. The Republicans didn't have a charismatic type of leader, and Trump is one of those people. And to be honest, again, Trump is as close to a classical liberal that there is. He is more like JFK than he is like fucking Hitler, let's say. But anyway, let me get back to this. It seems to me that the media, those who do really understand what's going on, but they can't say it. They can't name them. But now are trying to say it's a class versus race thing. They don't want to say it's a race thing. But again, we need to talk to the people who are in the streets. You have white people that are ashamed who they are, that they're white. They want to be black or whatever. And then you got black people that fucking hate white people because of the media and everything else it says. Listen to what they say at the rallies. But again, this is not the majority of all things. And, just because there's Portland's a hellhole right now, and it shouldn't be, but it is. All these other places that are, again, run by Democrats, I don't think that that's a winning thing to say. It might win this election, but this country has always been 50-50, really, when it comes to Democrats and Republicans, when I talk about in the white vote. I don't think we're going to get some independence on the Republican side, but the Republicans are not any better. They really aren't. So don't really know what I want to say for the rest of this. I would like the people to talk. We'll talk about in the comments. Do you really think that there's a race war that's coming? Or do you think this is a class war? Or do you just think that the people are being just led by those we can't name? Is that what's really happening? Those people just want more power, or they're worried that things might come out that will take away their power? Or does it really matter who we vote for in the presidency? I think it does. I think, especially this time, I think it really matters. As bad as Trump has been on certain things, I can't imagine Biden being in office. Because if he is, then AOC and that side of the Democrats are going to take over. And I don't really want to see what's going to happen with that. But just what I've seen in my life, especially the last 5 or 6 years, young men have been so depressed. They have no goals to go for. So if you don't give a young man anything that's going to have some risk in it, or a goal, or something like that, they are very easy to be ingrained into really bad ideologies. Um, they are taught at a very early age that they can't really be skeptical of stuff that's said to them. Most of it they're fed at a certain level. This feminist theory, at just not just feminism, how empowering females. That's not really what it is. It's a Marxist thing that's taken over the public school system, and they're seeing this when they're 4 or 5 years old. They go and they say that white people did this, and they start hating themselves so early. And then now we have these levels of suicide for young men. Now, of course, nobody really cares about that unless a woman kills himself or a girl kills himself. Then it's everywhere. Nobody really cares. They don't value men as much as they do for girls, which is whatever. We understand that to a point. So you're going to get people that are going to be radicalized on both sides. And who's right and who's wrong? I can say that for me, I will defend the Western way of life. And I understand 100% that that was created by white people or people that look like me, Europeans, that type of thing. Now, to say that other ethnic groups and cultures didn't help, didn't give us what we have in our country, of course they did. But they weren't the ones that decided they're going to do this, go across the land, did what they did to the Indians. You can say that's bad. But created the greatest documents when it came to the Declaration of Independence. And people, they just don't understand our history. No, it's like they're not really teaching what our kids in school what they should really look at. I mean, our Declaration of Independence talks about all people. Well, they want equality for all people. The Constitution came later and had some issues. But the founding documents said this and that, and it openly allowed the progress that we had in this country. But again, if Biden gets in, now again, I don't have a lot of people that watches me, but people that talk what I talk about, they will be on blacklists, and I'll be in a list somewhere because I said the craziest thing that white people created this United States and the West in general, and that personally, I think we have the greatest culture of all time. But at the same time, we're also kind of stupid. We have a Achilles heel. We're too virtuous to everybody else. We want to help people. We're the most giving. The United States clearly is the most giving country. Anyway, let's talk about it in the comments. And you tell me if it's a class war that's going on, or just a distraction, or just because every 4 years is the election, we're going to get shit like this. I mean, we could talk about the NBA and the stupidity of the athletes who don't know anything, and now they're quote-unquote civil rights people. Or is it a race war? It's really because when it comes down to it, it's very hard, two cultures, two races to live together in harmony. And maybe this is just always something that was going to happen. All right. Thank you for watching. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.